Hey everyone, it's Mandy. Welcome to another Here It Is mini session. This week I really wanted to talk about mental health and motherhood. Again, before I start, I'm not a licensed therapist. I'm not a psychologist. This is all just my own personal story and my opinion. I definitely am not one of those people that sugarcoats things. I mean, maybe kind of, but for this video, I am going to go into great detail about my depression and anxiety. And if that's something that triggers you, maybe don't watch it. If not, then let's get into it. On social media, I see a lot of people who will share tips and tricks on how to overcome their mental health illnesses. And sometimes people will say like, oh, I take a nice bubble bath at the end of the day, or I recite positive affirmations, and those things are all great. I've learned a lot of things myself. I've learned a lot of things myself by watching these kinds of posts. I mean, by reading these kinds of posts and implementing some of their tips into my own life. But I feel like there's still such a negative. I feel like society still stigmatizes mental health in a way to where it's like we're still scared to talk about it. And I think it's something that that should have been normalized a long time ago. I think when people hear mental health, they associate the mental with maybe like crazy or weak or failure. And maybe that's why people choose not to talk about it. And I feel like if we're not talking about it, we're not normalizing it, right? And we have people who are taking their lives because they are suffering in silence, and they are afraid to share what they're going through with the world because they don't want to be judged too harshly. They don't want to be seen as weak. They don't want to be seen as a failure. And before I jump into my story, if you are watching this now and you are holding on to any kind of depression, anxiety, ADHD, bipolar disorder, if you're having panic attack, whatever it is that you're going through, if you feel like you haven't found that person, if you're feeling suicidal, if you're feeling like you're just at your wit's end, my email address is attached to my channel. My Instagram handle is at Mandy Apple Red, MandyApplered. My DMs are always open. My inbox is always open. Please let me be that person for you. Even if you do not want me to respond, just say, please don't reply to this. I just need to vent. I am not going to judge you for anything that you've done. I just want to be that person to remind you that your life matters. When you are at that place, because I've been at that place where I tried to take my own life because I hated myself so much. I felt like such a failure. I felt like no one loved me. I felt like my existence was a waste of space. I've been that broken where I tried to kill myself. And when I was unsuccessful and I finally got to a point where I was able to talk about it, one of the things that people will tell you right away is, but what about your mom? What about your siblings? What about your family? What were you thinking? What would they have done without you? And sometimes you get those, well, I'm glad you were unsuccessful. I'm glad you're still here. And even though those are all things, I can say from my experience that even in that moment, even in that low, when I was right at the brim of being successful with suicide, I did think about my family. I did think about my mom. I did think about my sister. I was super close to my niece. I thought about her. And I did worry about them in those moments. And I already thought about all those things. And I understand the selfishness, I guess, that comes from making an attempt like that. But understand that when I'm choosing to open up to you about something like that, I don't need to be reminded about everyone else. I just need to be reminded that my life is worth living for. And that is what I'm here to tell you. If you are watching this feeling that way, your life is important. You are important. You have so much life to live. And I wish I could just sit here and promise you that if you're still here, that it's going to be amazing and you're never going to suffer. But I can't, because that's unrealistic. All I can tell you is that you matter. Your life is important. You still have so much more life to live. And I really hope that you choose to see what's in store for you. And if you need me, I'm here for you, because when I was going through it, having people that were just willing to listen, it made a difference, even if it took me a little while to open up. And I will find some resources and I will link them in the description below. I'm sorry. For also, for actual hotlines with actual professionals, because I also don't want to be giving any advice to people that may be wrong. I'm just offering my ear if you need it, my shoulder if you need it, my inbox if you want to vent. So, I was diagnosed with depression when I was in 7th grade. I was prescribed Zoloft. My mother immediately took me off of it when she saw how it was affecting me. And then I never got on a prescription medicine again. But my depression didn't go away. And as I got older, I developed anxiety. And I think sometimes when we say like, oh, I have anxiety, like people will associate that with like, oh, she must just be really shy and awkward, or whatever. But for me, when I have anxiety, it's going to the grocery store with the intent to grocery shop because I need to feed my family, and walking in and suddenly becoming completely overwhelmed with sensory overload, like the lights, the sounds, other people's carts, the sounds of people getting the grocery bags, people shuffling around. It's just like sensory overload. And I will break into a slight sweat. Sometimes I'll break into a huge sweat because I'm like internally starting to panic for whatever reason. Nothing really, couldn't tell you what triggered it. I don't intentionally go out looking to be anxious. It just happens. I start feeling really tired, like I will be in the zone grocery shopping, and then out of nowhere I'm just like, I can feel my legs just like kind of giving out on me. I feel exhausted. I can feel my heart just like starting to race, and my shoulders get really tensed up, and I just want to get out of there as soon as possible and just be back inside my home. And sometimes the anxiety will be so bad that I will even be triggered by different people at the registers. And if a person looks scary to me for whatever reason, even if I only have a gallon of milk and I'm in the express lane where there's only one person ahead of me, if I'm uncomfortable, I will go stand in a line that's wrapped all the way around the store if I have to, if it's going to make me feel better. I'm still trying to figure out what my triggers are. It doesn't happen all the time. I don't know what is causing it, what is triggering it. Something that I'm still learning. But I think when I started this healing journey and I started talking about my childhood abuse, my adoption and everything with the intent to heal and not with the intent to be a victim, when I started seeing the benefits from that, and what I mean is I started talking to my mom about the abuse. I started talking to my birth mom about the adoption, and we were getting closure. I think I thought that closure was going to be it. That was going to heal me. I was going to be better. And even though I can say that I'm healed, even though I can say I've, forgave and those doors are closed, I'm realizing that when it comes to mental health, it's lifelong. And that might sound overwhelming to you if you are going through it right now. Like, are you telling me I'm going to deal with this for my entire life? But I hate to use this as an example, but when someone who is an alcoholic goes to rehab or AA, they learn tools and they learn tricks to prevent them from going back down the path of alcoholism. And for us who struggle with any kinds of mental health, whether it's ADHD, bipolar disorder, OCD, anxiety, panic attacks, depression, we also need to learn those tips and tricks on how to have a normal functioning days. But when the alcoholic gets to the relapse, if they ever get to that point, they have to make a choice in that moment. Are they going to use those tools so they can stay on the sober path, or are they going to go back down the hole? And it's the same for us. And that's what I mean when I say it's lifelong. I feel like even if we have 3 years depression free, there might be that 4th year where it just comes back, and we have to find the tips and tools that are going to help us kind of stay sober, if you will. And a couple of things I've implemented in my life that make me feel a little bit more normal and functioning. This will be the motherhood aspect. When you have kids, you choose to put yourself last and everybody else's needs. And if you're married, or if you are with your children's father, or you're just in a relationship, sometimes that also means putting your significant other's needs ahead of yours as well. And eventually you can start losing yourself. And those things can trigger your illnesses that you struggle with if you're not careful. And I had to kind of learn to create a routine for me that was a little bit more selfish, that was focused on me. So I recently started doing a new skincare routine, and it takes me about 20 minutes literally to just do the entire thing. I'm giving myself that 20 minutes every morning to do it, and I don't care what else is going on. I have made it a habit to go to bed. I have 2 pajama sets. Every night before I go to bed, I put one on. After I'm done brushing my teeth, doing my skincare routine, I make a cup of coffee. I come into my room and I change out of my pajama set, and I put on some other clothes. Even if it's just like today I'm wearing an oversized t-shirt. Quarantine, you had me snacking too much. I live in oversized t-shirts now. Learning to love it, right? But oversized t-shirt, leggings, I just feel better when I go from wearing pajamas to wearing other clothes. And another thing that I've started doing is I make my bed, and I am obsessed with BTS. I love them. They make me happy. They make me feel good. I have a BTS blanket. I have some of their BT21 characters that I put on my bed. And it just makes me feel happy when I walk into my room and I see it. And I have this room spray that I fell in love with. And after I make my bed, I spray the room spray. So anytime I walk into my room, I'm going to see this nicely made bed with BTS staring back at me. It's going to smell good. It's a good feeling for me. But the reason why I do those things is to try to keep my depression at bay, because depression is something that I'm struggling with so much. I don't know why it keeps coming back. And that is why I said it's important for the tips and tools. I know I'm at a place in my life where I'm finally ready for therapy. I'm currently seeking a therapist out. It's not in my budget to have someone who charges some of what the prices I've seen. But I know once I get to that point that maybe I'll be able to get a better handle on my depression. For me personally, I'm not ready to start any medication, but I'm starting to see that I may very well need to. There's a lot of things that I do all day long that could be the reasoning for my depression. I consume crazy amounts of coffee all the time. I love coffee. I think maybe the caffeine could be doing it too. I'm actually going to be switching to a decaf coffee and see if maybe that makes a difference, and kind of cut back on the sugar intake. And I do want to start exercising a little bit. I mean, not just to lose quarantine weight, but to quote Legally Blonde, endorphins make you happy. Happy people, blah, blah, blah. So, but yeah, the depression is something I'm struggling with a lot. And I couldn't even tell you, aside from not knowing the trigger, I don't even realize that I'm struggling with depression until I'm starting to stay up way later than normal. I'm waking up early at the same time I always wake up, so I'm extremely exhausted all the time. I have the things that I just told you that I like to do that make me feel good: making my bed, spraying my room, washing my face, my pajamas. I always know that my depression is coming, or it's there, when I just don't care to do those things. The idea of waking up and washing my face, or the idea of coming to make my bed, it's just like not feeling it. And I'm going to be really open and vulnerable with you right now. This is my bed unmade because I didn't feel like doing it today. I was I just don't feel like it. I had a really off day yesterday. Cried all day for no real reason. I was upset, and I allowed myself to be upset. I am okay with not being okay. That's one thing that I'm just learning to do, and I hope it's something that you can learn to do too. If you are struggling with this, we got to be okay with not being okay. I can be this healed person. I will talk to you all day long about my journey and my healing, and guess what? I'm still gonna have shitty days, and that's okay. Like, I hate with the passion when I'm talking to someone and when I'm talking to someone and I'm telling them about my bad day, or I bring up an example from a past experience, and right away they're like, girl, you healed from this. You're healed. Don't even go there. And I'm like, just because I'm healed from it doesn't mean that I'm not going to still want to talk about it. For me, I'm a talker. Obviously, I'm sitting down here talking to myself for 15 minutes in hopes that I get to meet new friends like you who are just the same as me. It makes me feel good to talk about it. Even if the pain and the hurt or anything is no longer attached to the experience, I still just like talking about it. It doesn't mean I'm not healed. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to be fucking awesome tomorrow and excel at life. It just means that I'm having a bad day. Mom life, my son came in. But anyways, my point is, I can still be a happy, grateful, healed person and still have those rock bottom moments. And I think that is something that really needs to be talked about more too, because people go and they do all this work to get the healing that they need, to get the help that they need. And when their depression comes back, when their anxiety comes back, when new disorders manifest from it, I think that they start internally panicking because they're like, oh no, I've built my life on being this newly cured person and I'm still struggling and I failed. And it's like, no, you didn't fail. You're human. We're human. Nobody knew coronavirus was coming. No one predicted COVID. I can guarantee you, even the strongest, most healed person found themselves struggling with their weaknesses again during that, because it just completely came out of nowhere, right? And for me, I did say I was going to talk about motherhood, but I don't think I'm going to talk about it this time around as much as I wanted to, because this is already getting long, and I felt like the mental health aspect was really important. There are so many things that I still am not educated enough on. I don't fully understand bipolar disorder. I don't fully understand OCD. We always say like someone's OCD because they count a lot or they like to be super clean, but I don't think we've ever really taken into account what exactly OCD means. And it's a lot more than just being super clean or, whatever. And at the end of the day, when it comes to these things, I don't think it would do any harm to get educated on each thing and to understand what mental illness is and to become educated with, if you are not someone who struggles with mental illness, just getting...
Wow!
What? Oh my goodness. Avon's calling you. Go get him. Go get him. Go get him. Anyway, I'm just going to talk over him. Hopefully it's not too bad. If you're not someone who struggles with mental illness, maybe just knowing how to approach someone who does. Don't tell somebody who's anxious or somebody who's depressed to get over it. Don't tell somebody who is talking about an attempt to suicide that somebody's life is worse than theirs. How could they even think about doing something like that? Because at the end of the day, no matter what you're going through, I say this all the time, and I hope that it sticks somewhere, like white rice. I meant because it's sticky. There's a saying in Korea, like if you want to study for a test, to eat white rice, and it's kind of like this belief that all the knowledge will stick to you. That's what I meant. But anyways, what I was trying to say is that nobody, I don't care what your life looks like. Like Kylie Jenner, perfect example. Let me just use her. She's a billionaire. She grew up with a silver spoon. That doesn't mean that she's not allowed to be anxiety ridden. That doesn't mean that she's not allowed to be depressed. I'm complete opposite. I was, that middle income bracket, didn't really have a lot of funds. Still now, being a stay-at-home parent, choosing not to work, realistically take the children's father out of the equation. I'm not bringing anything to the table. I have what I have, and I have what I have. That doesn't mean that I have rights to be more depressed because I dedicated the past 12 years to being a mom instead of focusing on like building my career or something. Everybody, no matter what walk of life you're in, whether you're a billionaire, whether you're homeless, I feel like all of your pain is valid. When I first wrote the book and I was talking about my adoption and my self-harm, just all the stuff I talked about in the book, I did have one person kind of reach out to me and was like, everybody goes through something, kind of like, get over it. And luckily, I'm at a place in my life where those kind of things don't really bother me. I don't expect everyone to like me. I'm pretty sure people think my voice is annoying. I'm pretty sure people thought my poems were stupid. I'm pretty sure people just will have whatever negative opinion they want to have of me, and I just don't care. Anything that you think of me, I probably thought worse of myself, and now that I don't, I just don't have time to entertain it. And anyways, the point is, I just don't like when people tell other people that other people have it worse than them, because everyone's pain is valid. No one understands what my childhood and my life did to me as a human being, and how I feel inside and how I handle things. And just because you had it quote unquote harder and I should be grateful doesn't mean that my pain is any less valid. And I just want everyone to know that. I hope you all understand. I hope we can all be sympathetic with people who are genuinely seeking help and counsel and advice, and just try to understand really what their mental health illness is and what it means, and how we can be more support versus then add to the problems. Because like I said in the beginning, society still stigmatizes mental health in such a negative way, and we're never going to get to a good place unless we're talking about it. But this is getting super long. I really hope this was helpful. I always have these plans in my head. They never come out the way I want them to, but I want to come back and talk more about the motherhood aspect, because I felt like I said earlier, motherhood and mental health kind of go hand in hand, and I kind of want to talk more about that part next time. But I hope you have an amazing weekend. Wow. I hope you have an amazing weekend. I hope you're being safe. I hope whatever you're doing today, I hope that this could have maybe made it a little bit better. Again, my Instagram handle, I will have all of this in the description below. Please, if you need me, reach out to me. I have nothing to do all day today. I am going to dedicate my entire Friday. Later on, I do have something to do, but that's not until like way later on. So I'm going to dedicate my entire Friday to just being on Gmail and Instagram all day long and seeing if anybody needs me. Have a great day. Have a good weekend. I apologize for my loud child. I'll talk to you later. Bye.